Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. You are tuning into the Gaming Circle podcast, where each week the brother Everborn Saga and I attempt to have some conversation, maybe debate.
I don't know
You
about you,
know,
man. I'm just here to talk shit.
a little evergreen conversation. You know, to dig through some of the conversations that have been keeping us afloat online and picking at each other left and right. And of course, I am Kay Asante, as you can see from my handle right there in the corner. And I'm joined every week, including this week, by the Everborn Saga. What's going on, sir? How you doing?
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, can't complain. It's a weekend, and looks like Monday. I'm also going to have a day off, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we
me.
had some landscaping going on outside. Luckily,
Mm-hmm.
they're not here to. Well, not luckily, because I need this job to be finished. But things are good, man.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Landscaping in New York. Never thought I'd hear today.
That's a conversation for another day, but I need to have that conversation with you in New York. Okay. So we are also being joined this week by a very special guest who is right now looking like he is offline for a moment. So we will wait until he rejoins us. But we're very eager to have this conversation today. It will be interesting because we've been, as folks who've been paying attention to the show will know, we've been having these console war, if you will, conversations. These conversations that seems to be animating a lot of folks online. Some folks do a little bit of trolling because it's fun online, that kind of thing. But
by
we
some
kind of want to
folks,
have.
you mean code, but
No. We're not going there. Not yet. Not yet. I'm talking in general. These back and forths tend to engage folks dynamically online. I love some of the conversation, but then sometimes it goes a little too far. So we've been having these conversations, and as he has joined us, we are joined by our special guest this week, Mr.
Optimus Prime right now. Okay.
I do.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
The botting has started early. Yes, I will. Yes, maybe this is what we'll do. Yes, this might help us a little. Okay, so before I would retry introducing him once again. Mr. Optimus Code, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. How y'all brothers doing?
We're all right.
Good.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
Do you find it ironic that the person you'd categorize as a bot is botting? Is that
what? I don't really categorize him as a bot.
All right, good.
A PCMR type dude, but we'll get him straightened out too.
Okay.
see, and that's where we're gonna go, because I suspect at the end of this conversation, maybe that those opinions might be different. That they might change on you, but we'll get there.
I don't know. I've been watching y'all for many weeks, man. This is clear, man.
Great. Okay. So then either your thoughts on it would either be solidified, or maybe we'll have some new conversations.
I don't know. I think this show should be all Nintendo slander.
Oh, no good.
we can all get behind that, right? Says we say to the man who's got a bunch of Nintendo figures behind him.
Nintendo is the Kaiser Soze of the gaming industry. I just have to remind people that every week they start walking straight at the end of every Nintendo.
That's right. Yup. And what you think the hardware they're throwing at you is because that's all we can make? Nah, man. They know what they're doing. They know where the bread's
I used to think they couldn't afford it, but
please. Why do you think they're laughing? They're laughing all the way to the damn bank.
Out here making more money than Microsoft.
Indeed, yes.
In the gaming industry, at least.
So you know what? Before we get into the conversation on whole, let me start with our guest, Optimus. First off, for the rare few who may not know you in this community, give us a quick overview of. I know that you've been doing some development. You're a veteran in the game. Give us a light background on where you're coming at it from and what you do online these days.
Okay, sure. So first, I am a software developer, but I'm no longer in game development. I used to do game development. That was back in the 90s. And since then, I'm doing all app development. I mainly focus on cloud stuff right now. Have a few Azure certifications, a few AWS certifications, So I'm still in the technology space. It's more of a leadership role, though, tech leadership. But I still do active development. But I just have a lot of friends who are still in the gaming industry. Back when I was in it, like, you made a lot of connections, and some of us were actually friends, like slept at each other's houses and spent the night, like, all because we were way younger, right? And it's like those friendships still endure to this very day. So I still speak with people in the industry quite a bit. As far as myself, though, I've been gaming like since the beginning, literally since the 70s. We weren't fortunate enough, or rather we were too poor to have an actual video game console. But I lucked up. My mother had a friend, and when we would go over their house, the woman had a little son, and I used to play with him while her and my mother would visit. And he had the Magnavox, and like I would play on his like all the time. But he hated, like, he didn't even care about it. Like, he would much rather play with like G.I. Joes, and he had like some $6 Million Man toys and all that stuff, and racing tracks. Like, this kid had it all, and like the video game system was the least interest to him. But again, this was way back in the 70s. Nobody knew that it would turn into what it is now. So I've been gaming for like a very long time, literally since the beginning.
Very cool. Can you give us a bit of history on some of the games you've worked on? Just for my knowledge, that'd be cool to know.
No, I'm avoiding that question. I'm going to answer it on my channel eventually. We got a whole thing set up, like this little reunion cast with everybody coming to talk about it, and then it's going to branch out to where everybody went and how that game we made affected a lot of the stuff that you guys see today.
Speaking of your channel, I do want to take a minute to shout that channel out. It is a very sort of informative and educational channel. There's no like shenanigans there. And if you really want to understand how the technology of behind gaming and just every industry as a whole, like, check out Code's channel. Twitter Code is not the same as YouTube Code. So
I will second that. I've been watching a few of his videos. Some really good, knowledgeable stuff. Some light mistakes that normals make when they're having their back and forth. He will give you the right bullets for your chamber. You should watch some of the videos. It's real good.
I appreciate that. I don't really want to, because this show isn't about me or my channel, but I appreciate the plug. But yeah, the whole idea is to just educate the community, and it's a safe space. Like, none of this console war. What's the language here? None of this console war.
You can speak on it, man. Speak on it.
You could talk. You can say anything you like. Yes.
All right. Yeah. None of this console war bullshit. None of that is at the channel. It's a safe space for people to learn, and that's it. And hopefully, after we learn, we won't try to weaponize it for other stuff. But yeah, the goal of the channel is just to learn. That's it. That's all it's about.
And I will say, I appreciate promoting your stuff, because much like here, we may have slanderous talk, but it should be a safe space where these things can be debated. So I appreciate you putting that information out there in a normal, hey, this is what FPS means, so that I appreciate that.
Right.
This is good. This is good.
Yeah. Thanks. So, appreciate it, y'all.
Yes. So before we get to the topic at hand, and there's going to be a lot of back and forth, let's at least start with, I know we're all gamers here. What have you been playing, Mr. Code Optimus? Which you prefer?
Man, whatever. It don't chump. Whatever.
What you play these days? What's keeping you busy?
Lately, right now, I'm playing through Scarlet Nexus. I am really liking it. I started it just to see if it would hold my interest, and I was really gonna play Plague's Tale. But since I had pre-ordered it, I was like, well, let me see what it's about. And man, it just hooked me right away, and I've been playing it ever since. So I'm trying to wrap up the platinum for that. I probably still got maybe another 30, 40 hours before that's finished completely. But that's what I've been playing right now. I recently just got the platinum for Jedi Fallen Order. Nice. I forget what it was before that. I don't remember. But I've decided lately that if I'm going to play a game, I'm going to get the platinum for it. And so I started with 0 platinums in 2020. No, 2020, I had like 2 platinums. I think I had Spider-Man and Death Stranding. And as of this week, I'm now up to 32 platinums. So it's like I've been on this goal to just finish these
Death
games.
Stranding. That is tough. Yeah. That is tough. Death
Stranding
platinum
that's
is tough.
how you
I got to give you some respect on
the
that one,
man.
Woo.
Yeah, thank you. That's right. That's right.
Well, I guess
I played Death Stranding and I like Death Stranding, but at some point I was just like, nah, bro, I can't keep it up. I love the main storyline, but everything you need to do to get that platinum, man, you have some time on your hands. Good for you.
They make you work for it for sure. Yeah, I probably could have played 4 more games in the time that it took to deal with that.
To finish the platinum, yes, for sure.
I guess I'm a chump because I don't platinum anything. Like once I just beat the game, and if the multiplayer isn't interesting, I'll try it for anything. But I genuinely don't care about platinums or 1,000 gamer scores. I mean, I'll do that with Halo, but like that's it. That's fine. It's levels to this. We get it. Everybody ain't on the same level. Absolutely.
No, yeah, I agree. I think there's no wrong answer to it. Like I know people who have to platinum every game they get, and I think from a monetary perspective, that's great. You know, you're getting your dollars spent. That's awesome. But me personally, I got kids, I got relationships, I got too much time, not enough time.
You notice he said that's what I said. He said relationships.
Tell us what's going on.
Hey, when I say relationships, it doesn't automatically have to be romantic relationships.
Don't dodge the question, sir. Don't dodge. How many women?
Don't dodge the question.
I got you. I got you.
But needless to say, I'm the type of person that unless the game itself is so great that it's literally calling your name and pulling you back in, I just go with it. If I eventually get tired of it, I'll just move on. There's just too many games in the backlog, man. And the only game that, funny enough, and we can have a different conversation about this at some point, but the only game that believe it or not has been calling me back since I've left it, oddly enough, Cyberpunk. So I've been replaying Cyberpunk.
But hold on, I think you need to clarify that you're playing it on the 3080. It's not the same.
Yes. Well, no. Let's be clear. I have it on the Xbox and I also have it on PC.
But where are you playing it?
The PC pulled me because it's more stable there. But I was actually waiting for it to be cleaned up so I can play it back on console. It just so happens that Everborn here has also finished the game and he wants to have a spoiler conversation. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. And then I started playing for 20 minutes and now I'm like hooked. 5 hours later, I'm still playing. So
the funny thing about that game is I highly recommend it if you have a strong PC. I do not recommend it on console. I completely understand why people would trash the game if you're playing it on an Xbox or a PlayStation. But if you got one of the newer generation video
machine
cards
that can handle it, that's the way to play for sure.
Now, Code, whenever you come back, what do you think about that? Is it fair to trash on a game just because it doesn't perform well on console, but there is a place where it does perform well?
I need way more context than that. What do you mean? Like, can you be more
specifically
Cyberpunk, right? Like, if it plays really well on PC, there's issues on PC. I'm not gonna lie about that, but I'm saying
performance wise,
ability, right? Yes, right. Because it basically was unplayable on PS4.
I think I understand what you're saying, Everborn. If they came out with that game and it was PC only. Like PC only, I suspect it would get 8.5, 9. Obviously, it would get dinged for whatever all the errors, the potential instabilities and whatnot it's having. But the game there would have been a different conversation about that game. It would have been more about the content rather than all the drama surrounding it. What do you think about that idea of folks trashing the game because on the console it's trash, but on PC it's playable?
Honestly, I don't think that's why people trash the game. I don't think people trash the game because it was trash on console but playable on PC. I think there are 2 reasons that people trash the game. One reason that people trash the game is because CD Projekt Red. Okay, there are 3 reasons. There are 3 reasons why people trash the game. One reason, and the silliest reason in my opinion, why people trash Cyberpunk was because CD Projekt Red with The Witcher 3 had positioned themselves as a challenge to some of the Sony studios. And there was conversation that Cyberpunk would compete with The Last of Us 2 for Game of the Year. And when that fiasco happened, there were a lot of people that were just waiting for ammunition to attack CD Projekt Red themselves because they didn't like the fact that CD Projekt Red had acquired upper tier status along with Naughty Dog and Santa Monica. So there were a bunch of people that were happy just for that. The main reason, though, which is the second reason, the main reason that people were trashing Cyberpunk was because CD Projekt Red used deceptive practices. It wasn't just the fact that the game was buggy. It was that they deliberately didn't allow reviewers to show the console versions because they knew it was buggy. And so they tried to mislead the public. And that is what upset people. And then the third reason is because a lot of people didn't appreciate that there were influencers who were giving the game a perfect 10 out of 10 on console, not even on PC, were giving the game a 10 out of 10 and perfect scores, even though the game didn't run and has stability issues and performance issues. And so people just felt that we're being misled by CD Projekt Red and the influencers, and then all hell broke loose.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
Do you feel like CD Projekt Red even deserved that elevated status just because of delivering one, like I'm not like The Witcher is amazing. It's one of the best games of the generation, in my opinion. But for when you have only one game that hits like that, should you even be in that conversation in the first place?
For me, absolutely. Absolutely. Well deserved. So, and again, so people always say that, not people, like some gamers, right? It's not widespread, but there are some gamers who believe you are only as good as your last performance. And they'll throw that at Bethesda every time. Fallout 76, Fallout 76. And no matter how good of a pedigree that Bethesda has, people will always only point to your last game and
your
say,
last
this
bad,
is the one
bad performance.
Matters. Yeah. And so given that, then not only do I think based on that little silly rule that they should be there, but also the fact that Witcher 3 was not just great, it was phenomenal. And they did a lot of things.
It was phenomenal, yeah.
They like the Ludo narrative dissonance that they had gotten rid of. Like they did so many things that so many other people copied off of. It wasn't just that it hit like that, like it hit like that. And they were just asked to do way more on way more platforms. That game was excellent, man.
So, because like the thing that
they earned the respect that they got.
I agree.
So, one thing that I would love to see more people do that The Witcher did is they kind of re-onboard you to the game. If you pick it up and you haven't been playing in a while, you kind of get that little thing in the beginning that tells you kind of what's going on and where you're at.
Previously on.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, and
they give you the
almost no RPG does that. And I love the fact that they do that because you can like I'm waiting for the next gen patch to go back to it because I have this 3080, but I don't want to play it on PC because
hold on real quick. I know I'm being rude and I'm interrupting, but something that you two doing specifically, well, that's not
go ahead.
I take that back.
Yeah.
It's something that the entire gaming industry does specifically that annoys me, but it really annoys me when you two do it because I look at you as like higher, more enlightened than just the average gamer. And so I don't expect you to fall to the same shenanigans that these other chumps. And you guys constantly identify your entire system by one component. And that is one of the worst things you can do from a technologist because your PC is way more than a video card.
Yes, but I think that is shorthand way of explaining it, right?
Because you can have a 3080 paired with an i3 with 3 gigs of RAM, and it's still a 3080.
Okay, yeah, but
come on now.
So, because for me, this is what I'm saying. Like, I could say my 3080 with 64 gigs of RAM and i9 10900 KS
and the i9 processor and the
right, and I could say my 2 terabyte NVMe drive, but that's too long of a sentence.
Sure, right? So you can just say my high-end PC.
Nah, but I got to name drop the 3080. Come on.
Come on, man. Well, no.
That leads to
and honestly, for me, the reason why we dropped the name we dropped that name because like that has been shorthand, because a lot of folks go, you know, that conversation, oh, these people say they got the high-end PCs, what you got, right? It shouldn't even be a conversation to be had, but people want you to be able to show what you got before they will take what you say seriously, which I think is ridiculous, but it's one of those situations that we've had to deal with. You know, nobody should be, oh, I got this. Like whatever, dude. Like I should be.
But you guys know that that you cannot determine the strength of a system based on one component. And if you continue to glorify the one component, you are helping people continue this process of like, oh, well, this has a bigger GPU, so it's the most powerful.
We're speaking the language they understand.
Okay.
We're speaking language. We're using the language that they can understand.
No, use the language that is appropriate for the situation, and then educate them so they can stop doing it.
Okay, Code. I know what you're trying to say, but there's only a certain amount of characters you can put in a tweet. That's all I'm gonna say.
But we're not on Twitter.
All right,
that's
here. That's true.
That's true. The air, and you can say
his Twitter character cap. The character cap would be enough already anyway.
Okay, so
that's funny.
So you play Cyberpunk on your high-end PC?
Yes.
Or Witcher 3?
Yeah.
And they do re-entry.
Yes, but they do re-entry. But I've only played The Witcher on Xbox. I've never played it on PC yet. I'm waiting to jump back into it because I never finished it. But Cyberpunk I would have played on Xbox, but there was just too much going on at the time, so I said this is where I'll play it, and I had a great I had a great experience with it. But it's like you couldn't like every time I say it's great, people like Twitter just goes crazy, and it's like you're not allowed to say that you enjoy this thing because you know there was so much going on.
You know why?
Part of the hate though,
Twitter goes crazy because they don't have that PC.
Right, but part of the hate is that it was pulled from the PlayStation Store and it was still on Xbox, and I feel like people brought some of that into the conversation when discussing that game and how they felt about it. I feel like people's preferences, and maybe this can lead us into where we're going. People's preferences inform how they view a lot of these games. Right. And so Kate, take it away because I want you to take us into the thing and then we'll go from there. But,
sure. Yeah, sure. No, I completely understand where you're coming from with that as far as, and I agree with you that when the PlayStation folks decided to remove Cyberpunk from its store, that kind of worked its way to defining its line. Okay, well, this is an Xbox game now, so these are Xbox issues versus PlayStation, rather than keeping it where it was. Since they removed it from the PlayStation store, all of a sudden it became a game that could then be used as console war fodder because it was on one side versus another. I hear where you're going. I didn't speak to too many people that were too full-throated about that, but I do see where you're going because it seems like the drama solidified when it left the PlayStation store. But okay.
Oh, real quick, let's try y'all since me on that. A lot of people think that the reason that Cyberpunk was kicked out of the PlayStation store was because it had bugs. And you hear this stuff about, well, this game has bugs. Why didn't they kick it out? Or same energy, blah, blah, blah. And that is not why Cyberpunk was kicked out of the PlayStation store.
It's because they lied.
Yeah, so there is a certification process that your game has to be certified. It has to pass all of these checks and all of that stuff. And then your game can then be certified, and then Sony will sign it with their private key, and then the game will be playable on the PlayStation device. The certification process is very lengthy and very grueling. And once you reach so high, like CD Projekt Red, you get this thing called approved developer status. What approved developer status does, one of the things that it does is it's a shortcut to bypass certification. So what will happen is Sony will go through Microsoft, everyone, it's everybody, it's not Sony specific, it's just how it works.
Yeah.
You will go through the certification process, and they will give you a list of things that are wrong that need to be fixed. What you do, if you have approved developer status, you can get a waiver. It's an official waiver that says we acknowledge the things that you found. Don't hold up the certification process. Don't make us recertify. So, for example, if Steven wants to get his game on PlayStation, he'll go through the certification process. Whatever things they find, they will give him a list. He will have to go fix those things and then resubmit his game for certification. And then if they find more, he'll have to do it again. And that process continues until he passes certification. But he has to resubmit every time.
Yeah, because he's just a simple developer. That's why. If he was a tried and true, has experience, they know he is of the CDPR level before Cyberpunk. They can kind of circumvent that because they know you guys know what you're doing. You're gonna fix it. Let's just keep it moving. They kind of give a shortcut to those who they deem are worthy of it.
So basically,
but it's not just that you that you are an experienced. Like there is an actual category approved developer. And and they don't give that to everybody, but that's an actual ranking in the certification system.
Yeah.
And if you have it, like EA has it, like a lot of people have it.
Yeah, the
when
big
you
guys
have
it.
approved developer status, what that means is you can request a waiver for whatever they find. And rather than resubmitting your game for certification, you promise that you will have a day one patch that fixes everything that they found in certification. So it's like you're saying, trust me to have it fixed on day one with a day one patch. I don't have to recertify over and over.
Sure.
But you can just believe me that I will have a patch that fixes that on day one, not day 2, day 3. And that's why they have those day one patches. That's like basically what they're for. Is to handle things.
What you're saying is that CDPR promised that they had that agreement in place, and then of course the game came out, and everything they'd promised that would be resolved wasn't resolved. So they broke that agreement with PlayStation, and that's why it was removed from the store. That's why
no. Close. They didn't pass certification. Is why it was removed from the store, because the day one patch did not fix the certification issues. And they lost approved developer status because they lied.
Now there has been talk or people suggesting part of or another, in addition to what you're talking about, that there was some issue with CDPR promising refunds to customers.
That's where I want to go. Yes, that's where I want to go.
Sony did not. Not that they didn't want to do for this game, but they don't. So in general, the PlayStation policy on digital games don't exist. There is no return policy for digital games. You buy it
as long as you haven't downloaded the game already.
Well, but that's the thing. But that's ridiculous. That's like saying if I paid for it, as long as I haven't touched it, I can still return it. That's ridiculous. I should be able to touch it and return it.
I agree. Yeah.
Currently, the PlayStation policy on digital games is, if you've bought it and it's touched your hard drive, it's yours. Doesn't matter if you played it, doesn't matter, whatever, it's yours. And like now, that's where I want to go with this.
They'll give you some exceptions, but it's not guaranteed. You just have to
get Whereas their competitors' exception is if it's within 2 hours of play.
Microsoft is excellent with that.
Yes. And my thought on this is, and I could be wrong. I have some of the information that you provided. I knew some of that originally as well, but it seemed to me, and please correct me, give me your thoughts on it. It seemed to me that the reason why they removed this game from the PlayStation Store is it really put a spotlight on the fact that digital return policy doesn't exist on PlayStation. And the more that game is in the store and people play it and then have this issue and request refunds, the more it puts a spotlight on that gap. And they don't want a spotlight on that gap. They want it to go away. Even after the game has been left the store, that policy hasn't been fixed. It hasn't been resolved. You still can't return any digital games at all. And PlayStation wants to keep it that way, so that's why they removed it from the store, to keep the spotlight from that issue. Do you disagree?
So the question, though, before
please
agree or disagree, is do you believe that also played a part in the removal of Cyberpunk from the store?
From the store, yeah.
I do not. And that's so I haven't, but it could be like I'm not the definitive source, right? I don't know. I don't believe it, and I have not heard it. Actually, like in the few hours leading up to it being removed, I was talking to a PlayStation developer, and they were hitting my DMs, and they were like, "Man, CD Projekt Red is about to lose approved developer status," and all this conversation happened. And all, as far as I know, from people that are really close to Sony, the only thing they have heard was the frustration that the trust was broken and they had given them approved developer status, and this is what they did. And again, keep in mind, taking it out the store is not the only thing that Sony did. Sony removed approved developer status from CD Projekt Red,
and that's on the back end. And most folks don't even aren't privy to that. But that makes more sense now.
That stuff could factor in. I haven't heard it other than like shows like this, but I don't know that may well could have a factored in. It sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah. All right. So we please. I was just gonna say we. Half hour now.
I want to
get to the meat and potatoes because we only have another half hour left.
Yes.
But Code, why do you hate Xbox so much?
Oh, stop it! No. That's not how we start that. No. Cut that out. So okay. So well, to transition a bit more properly into the conversation at hand, because I don't think he hates Xbox. From the conversations that I've seen online with him, I don't think it's just I hate Xbox. I think that's a very derivative take on it. I think it's more nuanced than that. But let's get to that, okay?
I need to put him in a box.
Yeah, I know you do. When we started this conversation originally yesterday, right? Well, last week or even before then, it's always for me my idea, and so that. And I know you said you watched the show, but so that it's established, yes, I game on Xbox, but I also game on PlayStation and I have a PC, right? My question about all this, the reason what animated this whole conversation for me was, why is it that I'm a guy, I will be forthright and say, even though I have all the consoles and I have a PC and whatnot, if my default speed is to grab an Xbox controller. Why? Because that's just the preferred platform. I like the controller. I like some of their decisions they make. Doesn't mean that I don't game. I have a Switch. I have everything. Sure. Like I game on everything, right? But in general, when Xbox screws up or when they say something, when they do something ridiculous, I'll be out there holding the same on the picket line like everybody else because I want them to be better. That's my preferred platform. I want them to do for me so that I continue to enjoy what they put out, right? Sure. So, real quick example, what do you call it? The next gen version of, let's say, a quick example, Doom Eternal comes out. I install it to the console. I play. I boot it up. Boom! I'm back where I started, right? Whereas on PlayStation today, if I were to upgrade the PS4 version to the PS5 next gen version, there's this uploading of saves and then downloading of saves. There's this downloading a different version of the game, a new version versus an old version. I've done this 3 times with 3 different games. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I feel that even if I may be, my preferred platform may be Xbox, there should be folks on the PlayStation side that are like me who should be on PlayStation's butt. Like, come on, guys, where's the infrastructure? Why is this so difficult? But for some reason, when that is said, all of a sudden, there goes the Xbox again, competing against the PlayStation platform, which is best. It's really weird that y'all are like, and when I say y'all, I mean those whose preferred platforms are PlayStation, are so willing to deal with inconvenience just because, PlayStation said so, or because that's their way, so that should be okay. When on the flip, you could easily ask for better, and they would give that to you. Quick example being, my Vita still has an app store because people were full-throated about, hey, come on now, this is not right? Yeah. That's where I want to start that conversation. Why is it that folks are so, it seems to me, specifically online, that folks are so deep into this console war stuff that you're okay with Avengers taking you 30 hours just to continue your game from PS4 to PS5, just so you can say, well, that's one on my side versus Xbox. You should be, in my opinion, you should be going to your side going, look, guys, this is not how it's supposed to be. You have a great system. the infrastructure is completely screwed. You want an example? Look at the competitor. They've done it right. How about you do the same? What do you think of that?
Well, again, so I think everybody's different, and I think different people have different value systems. And so I don't believe that like a lot of people will speak as one, because I don't think people value the same things even within a specific group or box.
Of course.
So for example, I don't think that all Xbox gamers value the same thing. I don't think all PlayStation gamers value the same thing, or all PC, especially not PC gamers, not even close.
Yeah.
So given that, then I think people
you just say PC gamers have no values. Damn, Cole.
You a hater, bro.
I love that. He just comes in there, whips the knife out, and just stabs real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna deal with this bot in a minute. Just hold on. So one thing, I think people complain about the things that bother them. And I think that when something doesn't bother you, it just doesn't bother you. Especially for me, I certainly get my DMs are full of people wanting me to help complain about a thing or champion a cause, even if that thing doesn't particularly bother me. So for example, so first you contradicted yourself, Asante, because you said that PlayStation people accept whatever just because it's from Sony, but then you gave an example of PlayStation people complaining to Sony about closing the store.
No. I'm saying that on the rare case that happens, action is actually taken. So I would think that would then animate folks to do that more on the various policy changes that need to happen. Return policy being one of them, for example.
So I don't think it's rare. I guess that's what I'm saying. I think people complain about the things that bother them. And again, like maybe we follow different people, but I've watched.
So what you're saying is the fact that you can't return anything you bought digitally does not bother PlayStation people? Really?
So again,
I would think that's bothersome.
So I don't think there is this thing PlayStation people. Again, I think different people.
I'm being general. Okay. Clearly, I'm being general. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like, does it bother me? Absolutely not. But I can see how it could potentially bother me. So let me put it a different way.
Yeah.
Given that I understand what the rules are, and given that I choose to buy digitally, I
know what to expect. That's it.
Right, I'm not caught by surprise, and so I just don't download games until I'm sure. Well, like there are ways for me to not even be bothered by that process. It doesn't bother me. Now, however, if it did bother me, I absolutely would complain about it. And it's what I'm saying. It's like, and I see PlayStation people, like I see them try to fire Jim Ryan. Like I see petitions to fire Jim Ryan. And
but that's different. That's more in the console war, blah blah blah. You know, you're not being aggressive enough against Xbox, so get rid of him. That's different. At least from what I've seen.
I mean, I see people complain about behavior that they don't like from PlayStation. I've seen people talk about the PS5 UI, how they don't like it, how it's a step back from the PS4, and they want different.
I actually disagree with that. I think the PlayStation 5, well, some of it, some aspects of the PS5 UI I like a lot, and I actually wish Xbox would adopt some of that stuff. But
I agree. There are things that I like about it above the PS4. Now that I've got familiar with it, but given that I was so familiar with the PS4 UI, the PS5 UI was very
to get used to.
Yeah, and like there were so many things missing, and I thought it took way too many steps to get to where I could get to before, in 2 or 3 steps. But now I'm starting to adjust to it, and now they prioritize other things or whatever. But my point is, I do see people complain about things that bother them, not with one voice the way you're suggesting, but I do see it. And so I do not believe. It seems like your basic assertion is that the PlayStation community is more willing to accept things from PlayStation without complaining than the Xbox community is.
That's what I've seen.
I disagree with that 100 million billion%.
Okay.
Xbox can do no wrong. The only thing they did was the Xbox Live Gold thing, and that was it. People spoke out against that. But all before that and after
I'll disagree
that, no
with you.
What Xbox does, the community will find a way to defend it, which is why people think I'm anti-Xbox. Because
I'll disagree with you because that whole Xbox Live Gold thing, the reason why that became a problem is because that's one of the rare in recent years, one of the rare missteps that they've made. Seriously.
What?
Seriously. No.
Oh my
Let me finish. Let me finish. They have seen that when folks are on their ass, they have to be very careful about their steps. So they are very, very cautious in their steps.
Xbox asked me to spend $500 on a new console 3 years after they got me to spend $500 on their most recent abandoned console for the exact same games and for the exact same reasons. Well, that is a mistake.
Every company
Xbox
does that.
Had no launch titles. Here's my question. That is a misstep. I can't. My question:
what kind of phone service do you use?
Was Xbox Live Gold?
What phone service do you use? Do you use an iPhone or an Android phone?
I use an iPhone.
Every single app you have on your iPhone has been on that phone, whether you use it or not. Like the general use of the apps.
That is a ridiculous comparison. I don't buy iPhones for new apps. That is
but that's my point. That's my point. They are transitioning from app focus to being a tool to get you into the ecosystem.
Why did they try to have Halo Infinite ready for launch? If that's the case,
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
Why did they try to have Halo Infinite ready for launch?
Well, no, of course. Kids want to play the new game, obviously, and they want to try and make it available, ready for the new console launch. I get that. But what I'm saying is the reason why, to me, that's not so much of an issue is because we don't live in the world of Nintendo versus Genesis, where all they did was just play that software. Like Everborn, for example, was out of a lot of the PS4 Xbox One gen for reasons. He is now back in the game market.
Asante,
he has
a PS5. Is what do you? No,
I understand. I understand what your point is. Your point is that in the business model that currently exists, you have to have the device. Then you have to offer the software to make that device useful.
That's not my point. My point is Microsoft has made way more than one misstep. And
no. When I say misstep, I'm not talking about they don't screw up. Of course they screw up. I'm talking about malicious, outright. Hey, this is a problem. The last time that came out was the Xbox Live stuff. When was that? That and Halo Infinite not having pop in. That's the only thing people got.
Okay,
I don't think the Xbox Live thing was malicious. Honestly, I don't think anything Microsoft does is malicious. So I wouldn't put that label on them.
They removed discounts to try and get people to Game Pass. That was a little bit calculated in the.
All right, I think we're off the rails a little bit. Just
please, yes. Bring us back on track. Come on,
please, if you gentlemen will allow me.
Bring
Firstly,
us back
so with Code, I actually I get why people were upset about the Xbox Live Gold thing, but if you really step back and look at it, right, there is no reason you should be on Xbox Live if you can get
agree 100%.
That's right.
It's why they did that. So if we're having an adult conversation, that is the right move to do. Like people can jump on these high horses all they want,
right?
But really, that's just the service you've been using. So
and that's why I wouldn't label that malicious at all. Like that was shrewd in my opinion, and it only affected new chumps. It didn't affect anybody.
No, I understand that. And maybe I used the wrong word. It wasn't malicious. It was calculated.
If you were new, it was a smart calculation.
It was a smart calculation, yes.
If you are new, you should be joining Game Pass anyway, right? But so that's that thing. But now I think the point where we got off the rails a little bit, Code, is do you feel like people's preferences are informing what they get upset about and what they don't, what bothers them and what doesn't, what becomes a 5-alarm fire and what is just common business practice, right?
Oh, absolutely. That is 100% true. I know people, specifically know people who complain about things on Xbox and those things don't even bother them, but they want to jump in on the slander and they want to make sure that they are with the me crowd and they are identified as people who are will give Xbox smoke when they deserve it. and they don't even personally think Xbox deserves it. They just going with the crowd.
They're going with the crowd.
But
okay.
I even want to take it a step further, and I want to say that there's also another, like what you said is correct, but there's another subset of people that actually believe this shit. Meaning, if I'm an Xbox guy or I'm a PlayStation guy, so I just completely don't, things that happen on the PlayStation side, they don't bother me. And I don't realize that it only doesn't bother me because it's PlayStation doing it. I find like logical justifications for these things in my head, right? And then I taint everything that the competition does with either malicious or intent or just straight up incompetence, right?
Yeah, so I did a video a while ago about intellectual honesty, and this is a prime example of that. And what intellectual honesty is, for those that don't know, really quick, is this notion where rather than approach things rationally based on what's true and false, each person chooses a side, and you receive information based on if you think that information helps or hurts your side. And to be clear, intellectual honesty has nothing to do with you talking to another person or what you say to another individual. That's like regular honesty. Intellectual honesty is how you process information inside of your head. And the common analogy that they use to describe it is like a courtroom. You have a judge who is intellectually honest. The judge is trying to see what is the correct information, because we have a client on trial and this client can face the death penalty. We don't want to convict an innocent person, so we need to make sure that the information we're getting is accurate. You have a defense attorney who only cares about protecting her client. You have a prosecutor who only cares about prosecuting and getting a guilty conviction. Every information that goes into the court, the defense attorney is going to listen to it to see if it helps their side. If it does, they'll try to accept it. If it doesn't, they'll try to get it dismissed. Same thing for the prosecutor. Okay, this new evidence came in. Does it help me? Nope, I want to get rid of it. I mean, yeah, I want to keep it. Does it hurt me? No, I want to get rid of it. That's the way people process information with this console war stuff. They've chosen a side, and they, inside of themselves, they really can't see if this information is useful or not. They're just picking based on if it aligns with their team or not. It happens in politics. It could be a wonderful bill. If you're a Democrat and you see Republican pose this new bill, before you even click the article or hear the thing, in your mind, you're already trying to find fault with it and dismiss it, even before you've ever heard it. And this is the type of stuff that I think you're talking about, where your bias so influence you that you can't even see and receive information because you've already tainted it before you even get it. Hold on, y'all. I got to take a call.
Yeah. So and on that point, I think we all have to sort of check ourselves when we say things bother us. We have to ask ourselves why. Why does this thing get me so upset? Or why am I why am I angry about this thing? Or why am I cheering this other thing on so much? Right? Because I think to an extent we all have those things, and that's fine. I think that the job is within ourselves trying to identify that, trying to be objective. I can say I have an affinity towards this thing, right? So for me, I'll tell people this, every day and twice on Sundays that I'm an Xbox guy. Now, I hope that still allows me to look at things objectively, right? I hope that, because if and my Xbox affinity only goes as far as if there's a multi-plat game, that's where I'll buy it. But it doesn't mean that I need to disparage what anyone else is doing, except for PCMR. But right, but
he had to do it.
I don't have to. My affinity towards Xbox doesn't require me to badmouth Sony or pretend that they have nefarious practices or that they are bumbling idiots, right?
Well, here's my question about what you just said, Everborn, real quick. See, I get that, but don't you think that being coming out and saying,
crazy
I'm an Xbox
echo from
guy.
you, by the way.
Oh, from me?
Yeah.
He sounds fine to me.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's me. Okay, go ahead.
I hear what you're saying as far as that you can be an Xbox guy, and because of that, that shouldn't automatically mean that everything you say has that bias because you're an Xbox guy. But I guess my question to you about that is, if that's the case, do you not then recognize that once you say what you just said, that everyone then takes what you say after that with a twinge that, oh, well, he's just saying it from quote unquote an Xbox perspective, there's which I find kind of problematic. You can say, hey, my platform of choice is PlayStation or my platform of choice is Xbox. But after you say that, anything you say after that automatically in the ears of whoever hears it becomes, oh, well, this is a dude taking a shot from the other team.
Well, it depends. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was saying if you can't decipher that, right? So if I talk to Code and Code says he prefers PlayStation, I'm not saying you do. I know you do, but I'm not saying you do, right? I can still have a conversation with you on the merits of whatever we're talking about.
Yeah,
just because you prefer something, or just because you are a Democrat or a Republican or a Muslim or a Christian, that doesn't mean we cannot agree on the facts. And
I actually prefer somebody from that platform to be on so we can kind of compare. Hey, you like this. This is your preference. What do you think about this versus that? It shouldn't automatically be, well, he prefers that, so I can't believe anything he says. But that seems to be where people go.
One thing I want to say based on what you said earlier, so it depends on what the context is. So if I identify myself as an Xbox guy, if I say something positive about Xbox, that's dismissed, of course, right away. He's just an Xbox chump doing what Xbox do. If I say something negative about Xbox, then it's blown. Oh, even this Xbox guy said the quick resume.
Exactly. See, this is the problem.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
I agree.
I should be able to tell you my preferred platform is PlayStation or my preferred platform is Xbox. And then I should be able to criticize whether it be PlayStation or Xbox. And you should hear what I'm saying about specifically about what it is that I am saying, rather than, oh, well, this Xbox guy has identified him as an Xbox guy. So the very next thing he says will either be bullets from my chamber for the console war, or it'll be dismissed. That is
it'll either hurt or help my cause. Right.
Absolutely. That's where I lose my mind.
Here's where I think that I don't know, maybe from my opinion, my perspective, I think where you're going off track a little bit, and just a little bit, is you're ignoring context. It seems like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, brother. It seems like you want every conversation to be an actual, meaningful, good, well-intentioned conversation, and they're not. A lot of these conversations are specifically for, I'm having fun, let there be more.
Man. I will say one thing, and I will say, and you won't get this from me, but that statement is absolutely correct. I want honest conversation. That's what I want.
Sure, but all the time, though. You say you got no time for the shenanigans.
Oh, no. Even we can have slanderous convo. I enjoy slanderous convo, but come out with it like that. Don't come to me with slanderous convo wrapped under the frame of, we're just having a, you know what I'm saying?
I feel that.
And one of my favorite follows on Twitter is J-Dub, right? Even though it's constant.
You mean is a shill or straight?
No, straight J-Dub. Even though it's constant Xbox slander, it is funny, and that is what we should be here for. I remember the sort of playground arguments about what's better, Super Nintendo or Genesis, or what's better, like Marvel and DC, like that. I think that we should be able to have those conversations and have fun like that without people taking all of this so seriously, right? And I think that's part of it. People wrap so much of their identities into this thing. And maybe this is just like Western consumerism where we've made this into like a religion. Yeah. And so I like, if I identify with Xbox and you say, and you disparage Xbox, you are then disparaging me.
Yes.
Right. And it's super strange to me because it's like we're worshiping these sort of corporations, absolutely, whatever. Right. And I get being a fan because it's like sports. That's what it should be. I should be able to come here. We can talk smack, and I can prefer Xbox, and Code can prefer PlayStation, and Slow-Mo for some strange reason prefers PC, right? And we should just be able to joke and point fun at each other. That's right. But some people just take it to this other level, and whoever does it, I don't like that. Right?
See, and the problem I have with all that is once that is established, then the manufacturers see that and they start using you as pawns for their console war little like a marketing ploy. Like they see that you are more about the side rather than the truth, so they start using you as their mouthpiece to promote their stuff. And it's absolutely, you put yourself in a position to become a tool. Like it's just ridiculous to me. I don't
but hold on, let y'all, because I'm gonna have to leave soon. But it's two things that I want to talk about.
Yeah, I want to. Yes. First Blood. We have to get to that. I need you to explain that to me, please.
Okay. Well, First Blood, I will. But before, I just want to let the record state that Asante said that Xbox ain't made no missteps. Let's just let that resonate.
Here we go.
For a while.
There we go. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Or you can either take that slogan or you can rewatch the video and hear the nuance. But okay, continue. You know, there are two people. You have to take the headline or you listen to the nuance. That's neither here nor there.
Xbox can do no wrong because you have people ridiculous. Like Asante that will just damage control and rationalize everything they do. All right, but no, seriously.
Yes. All right. Yes. First Blood.
First Blood. Yes.
Where I'm coming from with that, Steve, is most people that enter the timeline after a certain point, like say in the last 2 or 3 years, most people will get the impression that the Sony rabid fan base is super aggressive, toxic, and all of this stuff, and that they are very harassing to these general Xbox players who just want to enjoy games and have a good time.
Yes,
and the majority of the people view these Xbox dudes as the victim and the PlayStation guys as the aggressor.
I mean, by and large, isn't that the case though?
No,
because there's more PlayStation guys than Xbox guys.
Timeline from a certain point, that's what you will believe. But if you were there and you see the whole thing, you will realize, these people that are playing victim now, they're actually the ones that started this whole thing. When did that
start? Give me a date, timeline.
PlayStation 3.
So you're saying, so PS3,
hold on. And like that is the point, Steve, is that if depending on when you enter the timeline, you will get a very different picture, which is why when people bring up these receipts and these same luminaries that you see say things like AAA exclusives don't matter, you'll see, well, oh, wow, back here in 2009, they're the main ones that's pushing AAA exclusives. Why? Oh, well, why did they stop? And why are they now saying this stuff don't matter? And this is the part you got to understand. There's always two parts to this whole thing. So like Stephen A., let's just say me and you, I don't know, like with football, I'm a Steelers fan and you a chump Ravens fan, as an example.
I don't even know what that means because I don't mess with sports, but go ahead.
Okay. So let's just say I value something and you value something. There are two things that happen that I don't think people understand, and they get them mixed up all the time. One is I will have a position that I'm trying to advance. You will have a position that you're trying to advance. So you have your main point A, I will have my main point A. In addition to that, you will have a point B. Your point B has nothing to do with the thing that you like. Your point B is only coming up with counterpoints to my point A. So your point B has nothing to do with advancing the thing that you love. Say you love Marvel, I love DC. So I have conversations about Superman and how he is so great. You have conversations about why Spider-Man is great. Okay, those are our main points. But part of my my sub point B is going to be throwing stuff back at you about Spider-Man, and you're going to throw stuff back at me about Superman, even though Superman has nothing to do with you. You all about Spider-Man, but you're also going to rub my face in it when I mess up with Superman.
Well, for the record, though, Superman is trash. Like, aside from this conversation.
Oh my
right?
He was
God!
going to go there. I knew it.
The biggest Mary Sue in all of comic book history.
Wow.
But
That's a whole different conversation.
Wow.
That is
you need
a
to come on the
Thursday
reel.
show.
We'll talk about
Wow.
that on Thursday. Yes.
Don't get me started on
That's
Superman.
a whole different conversation. Bro.
See, this is why you can't have honest conversations, because of people like him.
Listen, man. But because the thing is, for me, right? I'm just looking at this. My entry starts, as you all know, Genesis, Super Nintendo, right? Sega versus Nintendo, right?
Well, no, not that.
I feel like
entry into social media and console wars.
No, I'm coming there, right?
Okay.
So for me, so now I was there, and I know this is a lot, mostly Sega's fault, but when Sony entered the console business after backstabbing Nintendo, some people say Nintendo backstabbed them, but whatever, they kind of came in, bought, spent a lot of money. They had more money than Nintendo, Sega at the time, bullied their way into the market. I feel like as a Sega kid, they pushed Sega out, right? And then, they had this monster success with the PlayStation 1 and 2. And then the Xbox came in, and I'll give you that, like, at that time when the original Xbox came in, Xbox people were all about talking about power, because the original Xbox was more powerful. Like, when I say powerful, I'm not talking about hard. Yeah, it just could do more things, like visually, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of people, if you were a Sega kid, you kind of transitioned to Xbox a lot because it was like competition to Sony, who had came in there with all this money and pushed out who you grew up with. But like now when we see it, for me, all of this stuff is I think what you're saying is situational, because you say that the Sony guys that are giving Xbox guys crap all the time, they're just responding to what Xbox guys did. My argument is that if you go back far enough, the First Blood is just a circular argument. Yeah, it's always cyclical. Always find a motivation.
No, it's not, because you can't go back further than the beginning of social media and console wars. There was a first
but
tweet.
People existed before that. People were playing games
we're talking
before
about
that.
The console wars as they play out on social media.
But they had a birth somewhere, right? So those people that started it on social media were reacting to something. It's just they weren't reacting to it on social media before. Yeah. Right. So it may have been in AOL, right?
Yeah. No. So again, sure, maybe, but that's no. So on Twitter, if you look at, take the argument, AAA exclusives are what's important. There is a community that started that argument. You're saying that, no, you can say the other person started it. Then if you look back further, okay, well, no, the other team started it. And if you keep looking back, you'll just keep flip-flopping about who started.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, and that is absolutely false.
Explain to me why that's false.
Yeah, because I've seen that too.
It's the argument on Twitter about AAA exclusives matter started with the PS3. There was no conversation like this on Twitter about console wars before that. The whole thing about a system has no games. That started with the PS3 on social media. It did not exist before that.
But the thing is, Twitter didn't exist before the PS3. Those conversations were going on.
We are talking about the console war as it exists on social media. All you're saying is, well, it had influences before social media. That's like saying that, okay, if we're going to talk about Batman versus Superman versus Spider-Man, Marvel versus DC, well, they were invented. Batman was created in 1939, but before 1939, something happened to his creator that influenced Batman. Like, sure, everything
but hold on, Code
is related, but
thing.
the console war on social media did not start in the 90s.
Okay, I have an answer to that, but go ahead, Kay.
Let's assume you're absolutely right? And I'm sure there's a back and forth whether that's true or not. For the sake of this conversation, you're 100% right. It started during the PS3 era when Xbox folks were on them about exclusives. I get that, okay?
That is the frame. I'm saying the particular argument, AAA exclusives matter.
Exclusives don't matter. Yeah, started there. Okay, let's assume 100% that is an established fact. That's fine, right? You're speaking, and before, a little while ago, when we were having this conversation initially, you were saying that the problem is that context is missing, because if you happen to jump in here now and you see what's happening, you would incorrectly assume because you're missing the context, right? I hear all that. Well, yeah,
you're missing like how it started. You would think that the Xbox people are the victims.
I hear you. Yeah, 100%. I hear you. But even if that established narrative is true, right? I will not argue with you.
Yeah, you're not agreeing that it is, just for the sake of this conversation.
Yeah, I will not. But even then, still, if I'm a newbie, right? I'm a new cat joining the console generation. I'm enjoying my consoles. This is great. I join online and this is what I see. Context shouldn't matter. Whether one started it versus another, what's happening today, when a new person joins the frame and sees what's going on, it's one versus another. And folks keep saying a pox on both their houses, they're the same. But if you look at it today, it's not a pox on both their houses, because it seems like even if you're absolutely 100% correct, and they started that back and forth way back when, that was way back when. A lot of us don't have that context. All we see today are one side being very aggressive, sometimes to their own detriment, against the other side.
I don't. When you say context shouldn't matter, like I will forever.
No. In this specific frame, context. Those who join and see this and go, "Hey, there's a problem here." The answer shouldn't be, "Well, it's because you're missing the context." It's a problem.
I disagree.
Well, let me
disagree with that.
Let me add something to that. Right. I think that once you contribute to it today, you are creating someone who will be responding to you tomorrow. That had nothing
even
to do
if they
with
don't
that.
have the context from yesterday.
So what? Who cares? That completely irrelevant. Couldn't care less.
Okay, it's like you're continuing the poison.
No, well, that's your opinion, I'm sure. Here's the thing: if you're going to participate in something and you have no idea what you're talking about, it is your own fault if you come away misinformed or with the wrong idea, because you are engaging in things without the full picture, without the full context. But you can do that all you want, but when people tell you, no, the thing that you are saying, you guys are preaching this thing over and over and over to your detriment, like Asante said, when you find out what actually happened, you will find out that, no, this is not our thing. This is us taking something and throwing it back at you. This is not our argument. This is not our position. But this is not our point. This is feeding crow to the people that started it.
But
and
again,
that's all it is.
But again, see, I still feel like you are still you're sort of artificially choosing a starting point of when Twitter came out, right? So you're saying all of this is one group.
I did not say all of this. I was very specific. The console war on social media.
Console war on social media is one group feeding crow or feeding back their own words to them.
Both groups doing
it.
Yeah, both of them. Yes, there is a main point, and then there is the point where they're feeding crow to the other ones about their main points.
But what I'm saying is, even then, feeding them crow is not. You're not really, and I know it's not about being justified or not. I think that what they are responding to as the inciting incident was not the inciting incident, and they're all of the same elk. And I don't mean this to be a whataboutism. I'm just saying, pretending that one side has the moral high ground, to me, in my opinion, is bullshit.
How? That makes no sense.
Because your inciting incident was incited by something else before Twitter.
Something else before then. Yes, that's right. There's
oh my
else.
God. Okay. If that is true, the reason that this serial killer killed all of these people actually started 40 years ago. And so you can't actually say he did it because of this thing. This is ridiculous. There's always something that happened before, but there is a finite start and end to activity on social. Well, it hasn't ended yet. There's a finite start date to behavior on social media. There are narratives that rise and fall. And even if something contributed to Hitler that made Hitler, that in no way means that you can't start from where Hitler got on his Socialist Party bullshit. And that was the start of this thing, even if something influenced him before. You are artificially ignoring when this whole thing started and when these narratives rose. That narrative rose to popularity. So even if 2 or 3 people believed it, sure, you got these 3 people and they influencers and they believed it from the 90s. Okay, great. The point is they did nothing with it until the PS3. And during the PS3, this narrative rose about AAA exclusives, just as an example. And that narrative and the whole no games thing. The PS3 has no games, how to kill a brand. All of that shit started with the PS3. PS3 shipped with 10,000 backwards compatible games, but it had no launch games itself. PS3 got no games. YouTube shows with the PS3 song, 9 and 10 million views. All of this stuff everywhere. PS3 got PS3 got no games. That is the meme.
And you don't remember
compatible with PS2 and PS1.
You don't remember
backwards compatible games. PS3 got no games. AAA exclusives. All of that shit started then. Now, here's the Xbox. Plenty of backwards compatible games with no launch. So we say, okay, Xbox has no games. But now, it's so aggressive and let people enjoy the game. That is not what happened. That is throwing back the exact same narrative that you created.
So, hold on a second. Let's transition. One second. So you don't remember all of the talk about how the PS2 ran the OG Xbox out of the market, so they had to start early, right? You don't remember all the shit that the OG Xbox took from the PlayStation community during the PlayStation 2 OG Xbox days, and then the 360 came out as a reaction to that, and
360 out quickly to dump the Xbox One quickly.
But what has that to do with the narrative? PS3 got no games.
Well, that's the back and forth. That's the back and forth. That was the back and forth before PS3.
I'm talking about a specific narrative that rose the fame. PS3 got no games. AAA exclusives matter. Let's deal with those 2 specific narratives. What happened prior to the PS3 to Xbox where people were saying those things about the Xbox? I'll wait.
What happened? Were people saying those things about the Xbox? Oh, you mean 360? There were a bunch of
Xbox.
OG Xbox.
Regular OG Xbox. Where did the narrative start that Xbox got no games and AAA exclusives matter?
Oh, come on now. The OG Xbox was plagued with that narrative. People were saying that Microsoft shouldn't even be in games.
That is not true. The OG Xbox launched with fucking Halo.
I know that.
Had games.
No.
I know that. I agree with Code on this one.
AAA games.
I agree with Code on this one.
But back then, the reason why they dumped the OG Xbox is because the gamers themselves weren't accepting this console. Like they dumped that console quick. They really did. Like there was how many years?
Specific narrative. Console X got no games and AAA exclusives matter. We're dealing with those 2 narratives that I'm saying are feeding crow. Okay. You guys are saying that those narratives actually started by the PlayStation community with the OG Xbox. So
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that either. The arguments change, but it is ultimately of the same ilk.
The arguments change from console generation to console generation.
Of course, sure.
That's right. So this is just the latest narrative. It's not. That's not the main point. It's just the latest.
Been around for 15 years. Again, let's be very specific because we keep doing this. I want to be specific. The specific narrative, console A has no games, Where did that start in the console war timeline?
I would say it started towards after 2015.
Yeah.
Okay, that is false. So if you look on social media, you look for the phrase PS3 got no games, PS3 has no games. Look for the PS3 song, How to Kill a Brand, got no games. You will see that the PS3, the original PS3, launched backwards compatible with 10,000 games, and the narrative on Twitter and YouTube is PS3 got no games.
All right, let me stop you right. Okay, I understand what you're saying, Code. How many people do you think remember that?
Again, that's why I just said that PS3 got no games. How to Kill a Brand song had like 9 to 10 million hits on YouTube. A lot of us remember. What do you mean?
No, when I say
that's why
I'm saying how many
Crow.
How many PlayStation guys that are doing this today remember that?
How would I know that? I can't possibly.
It's probably not many. They're just bandwagoning at this point.
How can you go from not even have heard about it before to saying it's not many?
Well, no, but see, the reason why I say that is because the pie of games from that time to now has grown exponentially. Yes, it's true, and I won't argue with you as to when that narrative started. You may be right, 100%. It started on social way back then. I get that, but that was then when the console space wasn't as rabid as it is today.
Hold on a second, brother. I hear you, but here's my problem with what you're saying. If this is the entire pie of gaming, do you know the percentage of people that actually do console wars? It's very tiny.
It's a very, very tiny, like sliver.
So that tiny segment of people that do the console wars are the ones that remember and are fighting from PS3 forward.
Okay.
Because they do remember. Now you are right. So new people are coming into it, and like
they're just bandwagon here.
He's coming in. He don't actually remember what happened. He wasn't part. I get that, but at the end of the day, this stuff did happen. And when
let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah,
let me ask you a question. So beyond the console war, and you're right. We can have a debate back and forth about when it started and who started it. You're absolutely right, and I won't be.
Well, not it. I'm not saying who started. I'm saying specifically the console war as it plays out on social media.
On social media,
very specific about what I'm talking about.
And I haven't been as keen on the social media aspect from way back when. So you could be very much right. I will not argue with you because I don't have that historical knowledge there. I guess where I want to transition this to, and you can continue to argue, everyone. That's fine. But what I want to establish with all of this is, here we are now, right? Doesn't matter how we got there. Doesn't matter if the people who are on Twitter right now remember those days or don't, or they're bandwagoning, right? Either or could be true. Both could be true. I have two questions for you, right? And I know we're a little bit over. So before you get out of here, I kind of want to transition to that part of the question here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do have to leave, but the wife understands. Sure. She's waiting patiently.
Understood. I'll be quick with it. My question, first question is where we are today. Context in or out. I know you want to keep it in. That's fine. Where we are today with the entire, the gaming back and forth. Are you okay with the console wars back and forth? And the question two is, if you aren't, how do you think we transition from this? Because in my personal opinion, where we started was fun and games. It's getting beyond that point now, because some folks have lost the thread and are going way off the rails with this stuff. They're just going way off the rails with this stuff, like to the point where it's problematic. So I look at it and I go, how do we get here and how do we get out of it? Because it seems like folks are too busy trying to, you started it while this is festering and getting worse. And all the while, the pot is getting bigger and bigger with more folks, because gaming is more popular and more lucrative than movies and Hollywood now, right? Yeah. So the amount of people in it is astronomically larger than it was when those initial debates started. So there are a lot of people in it now who are just bandwagoning because, we got to give them the L or whatever BS that they're on. And it's becoming a problem beyond just friends ribbing each other. So my question is, what do you think of the current status?
Let's start there.
You don't think it's a problem?
Not at all. Absolutely not. I think console wars are fun. I like Stephen A. said, you see some of the funniest jokes from J-Dub.
Indeed. Yes.
He is the one person you must follow on Twitter because like that dude is hilarious, but you have to know not to take it seriously. And that's why I'm saying the key to your thing, the answer to your question is context. If you go in ignoring context, and if you insist on inserting yourself into a situation without context and you come away with the wrong idea, then that's exactly what you get in every walk of life. There's nothing unique to this. If you don't care about, okay, well, I see this is just feeding crow. And the thing that Stephen A. said as well, if you are identifying with these products so much that part of your actual identity is wrapped up in the success or failure of this commercial product, that is the first problem.
You got other problems.
I can't help you fix that. That is problem number one. And then problem number two is going to be easy for you to ignore context because you're only going to look at it from a point of intellectual dishonesty and you're not going to see what's what. At the end of the day, console wars are entertaining. They can be toxic, but it's only toxic when people take it out of context. And my solution is to always keep the context. And when I say context, I don't mean going back to first blood about when this narrative started, who's feeding crow to who. I do think that that's important, but that's not what I mean. When I say context, I mean remembering this is all for fun, not to be taken seriously. This is not a serious conversation about Xbox. This is not a serious conversation about Nintendo. This is just jokes, people having fun. That's it.
I couldn't agree with you more on that sentiment. I couldn't agree with you more. Before I let you go, everyone, and I will, I will comment and say that although I completely agree with you on that point, I feel like because folks get so riled up in that, it seems to stop them from making the platform better because they're too busy with that. Because they take the attention off where it should be, which is the platform itself, and maybe they're not giving you what you want, or maybe it's not working the way it should. But y'all are so busy like smacking your action figures together that you're not focusing your energy where it should be focused.
Well, I mean, again, there's a larger group than just the console warriors, right? So those conversations maybe,
and they tend to be the vocal minority. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
They tend to be the vocal minority, taking up all the oxygen in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still stuck on the fact that I want to play my upgraded games and not have to take 30 hours to transition from the old version to the new version. And until y'all like see that as a problem, we're gonna be console warring instead of fixing that.
Yeah, that will never see that as a problem.
You don't see that as a problem. So
I bet you don't. God damn it!
You know,
like this whole smart delivery thing, like all of that. I'm like, what?
No, good.
Okay, let's assume that smart delivery is great, which I don't agree that it is. It's only relevant while cross-gen games exist. Like, I don't care about no fucking cross-gen, conveniences. I want a next-gen system focused on next gen games, and when that happens,
and when will you get that? That'll happen. That won't happen until like 2023.
What'd you say?
That won't happen until like 2023.
Oh,
so
Xbox,
you're gonna deal with the BS.
Absolutely.
Until
on Xbox, you're
what? Okay.
On PlayStation
okay,
2
let me hold on. Let me jump in.
You had a point from way back. Asante's so rude. He just took over the conversation.
I'm rude. Please continue. Yes.
So a couple of things. So firstly, I have never, and this is the one thing I don't understand. There's nothing you could say about Xbox that I'm going to take personally because I am not Xbox.
That part, right? That part, right? Yes. How can I stop you from enjoying your
system?
If you tweet something that takes away from my enjoyment, then I wasn't enjoying it in the first place. I needed validation from everyone to tell me it was okay to like this. So that's the first thing. That's why your tweets don't bother me, Code. Right?
But so this is all about his tweets, is what you're saying. I hear you.
But I know you try to stop my greatness, right? But so the other thing is another point that always bothered me. This idea, especially from you, Code, that only Xbox dudes pretend to care about power. And that is not true. A lot of PlayStation guys and girls pretended to care about power when that meaningless teraflop number, when they thought it was in their favor. And when they didn't, when it wasn't in their favor, what do you mean when? When the
teraflops only became popular this previous generation.
No, but that's what I'm talking about, right? It's now when the numbers of what the hardware, and again, you don't have to lecture me on what power is, because I agree with you. Those, you can't define it by one or two components. It is everything playing a part together, and the dev skills, tools, talent, compilers, QA. So we don't disagree there.
Right.
But to pretend that only Xbox guys care about these hardware things that's just completely not true. Yeah. SSDs were everything, and when Sony dudes thought they had 13.3 teraflops, that's all they talked about, and it was all about power until that number wasn't in their favor, and then they stopped talking about that. So let's not pretend that is something that's happening on one side.
So I disagree with you emphatically. So again, but you are right. You are inadvertently right.
I'm right by mistake.
Yeah, you're right.
He's correct by mistake. All right.
So the PlayStation fan base did start the power narrative with the 900p versus 1080p.
Oh, 1080p makes you a better gamer. I remember those.
So that the PlayStation community did start that, but it was not necessarily power. Like, it kind of was power, but it was like the misunderstanding was that more power equals more resolution. And so the more powerful your console, the more resolution you have. The PlayStation community absolutely did start the whole resolution thing, 100%, and by extension, the power thing. But it is not true that the power thing, the PlayStation people stopped saying it because they lost the power numbers. That is not true. The resolution argument went away when people, I'm not going to say that's not, because I'm sure there are some chumps that did do that, right? Like, again, I can't speak for every PlayStation person. I'm only talking about the meta as it plays out in the console wars on social media. The gamers are more educated, and they understand that resolution actually doesn't matter. It's not because we lost the resolution numbers. No, everybody has matured. We realize that image reconstruction technology is where it's at, and that 4K, native 4K is a waste. Like, it's not valuable. It's nothing. And so people aren't stopping appealing to 4K because they don't have 4K on their side. It is a meaningless argument. Anybody with any sense understands, no, that's no longer the thing. There was a time when that's true, but it's simply no longer true.
That's convenient. But why?
Well, so you saying it is? You disagree that native 4K is a waste?
Well, it was never a thing.
I have never,
yes.
well, hold on. I have always been, first of all, I don't even care about resolution, right?
Man,
for me, everything.
Do you disagree that native 4K is a waste?
Do I disagree that it's a waste? No, I don't disagree. I think it is.
Given that we know now that is a waste, what point is there to preach native 4K? It's not a matter of convenience. It's just what's true.
But but that's not what I'm talking about. Like, even
go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I have always been about final image quality, even before people were saying final image quality, because when people were counting blades of grass in the OG Xbox and PlayStation 4 days, I was saying, look at the final image quality of Rise.
Yes.
And that's all
I've
ever cared about. Right.
Yeah.
So
let me
I've
get a point real quick.
That. Go ahead.
Let me get a point in real quick to what Code was also saying. As a guy who multiplats on Xbox, I will give you one thing. I personally think the reason why the power narrative was a big mistake was because Microsoft started that narrative. They have come out the mouth full-throated on many occasions. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. On many occasions, introducing teraflops to the common man and making it seem like it is the end-all be-all metric.
Well, I think they were right for doing that. Asante, now I think Microsoft was right about that.
But they finished one side, but they didn't finish the other side, which is what Microsoft always tends to do. Look at Windows. This is the greatest thing, but then you hand it off to your partners to define it for the consumer. Obviously, stupid. If you say this is the most powerful console ever, that means we need to see a game from you that shows that. And if
Well,
you
that's
don't
true,
show that,
but
then everybody gets to dump on you that you say you got the narrative. That's what started that. I'll be the first, and I say that to Everborn all the time. If Microsoft doesn't want the power narrative to dog them, then they need to stop saying that unless they have proof to show that, and they never have.
So I agree with that, but here's my position on that. Number one, so to be very clear, and like now, so we're having a serious conversation.
Sure.
So I personally, and I think everyone else should as well, but I separate Microsoft from the Microsoft fanboys. Those are not the same. And from Microsoft's point of view, I am glad they went with the power thing. And I think it was important because it demonstrated that Microsoft learned a lot from 2013. They remember what happened, and they know they lost because PlayStation had the power advantage. PlayStation had the cost advantage. And then PlayStation, they were popular. And Phil Spencer was very clear: I will not be beat on power. I will not be beat on price. That shows that they are awake. Like, I'm glad that Microsoft, as an organization, tried to build a console that was more powerful and at a price point. I hate the Series S as a concept, but I get what they're trying to do. So I think that's great from Microsoft's point of view. From the fanboy point of view, who doesn't have that context to go preach power, they are the ones, they are doing it excessively beyond what Microsoft was actually trying to do. Microsoft's pitch made perfect sense, but you have these fanboys that are overhyping it to the point where every game that comes out now, people aren't even going to look to see if the game is good or bad. Narrative. Yep. The only thing they're going to do was, does this game match the power hype that came from this group? And when Microsoft realized that, and they'll say, okay, the world's most powerful Xbox. Because in my opinion, anyway, they're trying to do their part to, like, hey, let's take the focus on what it should be. So I don't blame Xbox for the power narrative. I blame the Xbox fanboys for the power narrative.
Now
I see where you're going. Everborn, please speak.
I think that just to your point about like context and people responding to things, I think a lot of Xbox guys still feel burned from 2013.
Yes.
And that's the reason they talk about power.
Yes.
And then they find it like, oh, now, and we are in agreement on native resolution, right? But now it is convenient now for them that they're saying, oh, now you don't care about power anymore. As soon as we got it. So you understand.
Right? To them, it seems like, oh, you've lost the power advantage. So that's why you don't want to talk about it. That's not what it is at all. Number one, you don't have there is no world's most powerful console. That's number one. And number two, even Xbox should be trying to get away from native 4K. It is a waste. The industry
and they are
has grown.
The tools they are using is getting away from native 4K. It's all about what you see rather than what's rendered.
You can do with those resources. So I have to run y'all before the record. Let me be very clear. I do not care about PlayStation 5 as hardware. I don't care. People misunderstand that. What I really enjoy about PlayStation is the gaming experiences that I get there. That's it. My best bang for buck for gaming dollar is on PlayStation because they give me a bunch of new experiences and shit that I want. Xbox, I don't care about Xbox. I want gaming experiences. I don't care. Well, I do care about Nintendo, so I ain't gonna tell them. PC, I don't care. I'm actually in the process of getting my PC built out and started ordering parts. My daughter has my current one. When the pandemic hit, she wanted to use it because she was going to be locked in. So I let her use it. So I barely used it myself, but I'm starting to build a new one now and getting that all going. But I don't really care about hardware at all.
You're all about the content.
Yes.
Code, let me say one thing.
That's all I care
about. Let me say one thing before you go. If you know that Microsoft spent tens of billions of dollars to try to build out their first party portfolio, and then they're saying we're giving those studios resources and we're giving them the time instead of forcing them to rush things out, and it is not our problem as consumers, right? This is why I have a PlayStation to play some of these new things while that's happening. Why continue to give them shit if you know that they are investing specifically in the thing that you want?
I can easily answer that. So again, like I said earlier, right? So Phil Spencer remembered 2013, and he said in public interviews, I will not be beat on power. I will not be beat on price. And he was 100% clear in his conviction. This will not happen to me again. Why? Why did Phil take that approach? Why is this so ingrained in his mind? Because of what happened in 2013. The impact and the outrage and like all the that they got in 2013 has lasted to this very day. I want that same thing to happen again. I want these motherfuckers to never think that it's okay to release a console with no fucking games. I don't care that it's coming. If it's gonna be here in 2024, then release the fucking console in 2024 when it's ready. I don't care about having a next-gen console that's used as a mid-gen refresh. I bought a One X for that, and they discontinued it. Don't even get me started on that bullshit. So the reason why I am still on the Xbox got no games, because they ain't got no fucking games. Halo, Gears, Forza, over and over. Halo, Gears, Forza, Halo, Gears, Forza. I wanted to finally stick with them the same way the 2013 fiasco did, that gamers do not think that this is okay.
But what you're saying is you're doing this for their benefit, because once you do this
for my benefit, yes.
No, well, because you're saying that the reason why Phil won't be beat on price and power is because that dogged him then. So since that narrative dogged him for that long, he has corrected that. So you're now saying that you're putting it within your power to help him moving forward by dogging him on games so that he will fix that problem.
Yes, but it'll help me when he does. But
when he does,
you know what that's like, and I'll let you go. That's like you take your kid to school and then they forgot their notebook with their homework in it, so you got to walk them back home, and you're on the way home to get the notebook, but every 5 seconds on the way home, you got to smack him. You forgot your books, didn't you?
Absolutely.
You forgot your books, didn't you?
And that's exactly what I did with my kids.
We're going to get the books.
Yes. Stephen A., I'm going to tell you, this is the fact. You can ask my wife. I'll call her in here right now and you can ask her. We had to bring something to the school because our kids forget it, didn't take it on the bus one time. All these other parents scrambling because kids don't forgot stuff. No, sir. Happened one time, and for that very thing, every waking moment, it was how much you inconvenienced us and disrupted our day because you couldn't do something as simple as remember your book bag. Absolutely. Every second. And
they're trying to help Microsoft by reminding them over and over again that this should never happen again.
How do you feel about the lineup for the rest of the year? We got the Ascent coming on Friday. We got Flight Sim coming. Psychonauts 2.
There are more exclusives coming to Xbox and PlayStation.
Ascent is like the end of the month.
I thought that was the 9th.
No, it's 29th.
Oh, okay.
July.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Shit, so we got to deal with another 2 months of your bullshit.
Yes.
God damn.
Well, okay.
God damn.
So the whole Xbox got no games. And I saw your tweet. I saw you subtweet me too, Stephen A. I see that. I'm like, let me leave him alone because I don't really go in other people's threads and invade their shit.
And you know that directly, right?
Sir, I seen your little tweet.
That was absolutely about you.
Anybody after this showcase that says Xbox got no games, they just being deliberately whatever that shit you said. Let me tell you, number one, weeks before that, weeks before I tweeted, I will stop saying Xbox got no games when they have 3 games released and at least 2 of them are not Halo, Gears, or Forza. And I said I want actual releases, not the promise of a release. I want the games actually in my hands because I'm sick of promises. I said that in a tweet. You had no problem with it.
You got dates.
Nigga, I said I want releases in my hands.
But hold on.
I said it. You seen it.
But this is the thing, though. I disagree with that argument that they can't have. You play a PlayStation for Last of Us, God of War, Horizon, and games that you know from them. You play a PlayStation for sequels, but the minute Xbox sequel is there, shit don't count.
No, so you preaching to the choir on that. Now, actually, I've stated that on many podcasts, but sir, you got it backwards. You're doing what they call putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
So the whole thing with the Microsoft, the Xbox got no games, again, depending on where you enter the timeline, it is not that there are no games on Xbox. That phrase means Xbox has no AAA compelling exclusive content to drive people to the platform. They don't create new IPs. All they do is give you rehashes of Halo, Gears, Forza.
So basically, he's rehashing the
look up the Halo Gears Forza
defund the police narrative. It's not just a slogan. There's more narrative. There's more nuance behind it. It's not just got no games. It's got no games that we like that we can play that right now. There's more nuances.
It's not that we like to play. Like, even if you don't like them, it's just that they have games that the industry recognizes as critically acclaimed, new IPs, not just rehash over and over. Again, look up the Halo Gears Forza song by Kid Smooth. Everything you need to know is in that song. The whole thing is Microsoft only gives you Halo, Gears, Forza. You will not have nothing new, no new IPs. They're not going to introduce nothing new, nothing compelling. What you have, you're just going to keep getting more of that same Halo, Gears, Forza, Halo, Gears, Forza. Look at the song. That's a pretty good song by Kid Smooth. So what people want, people like me, what that narrative means is Microsoft, stop being lazy, relying on Halo, Gears, Forza, and invest in new IPs. Now, they tried with Recore, but that didn't really go over well. But there was a lot of people hoping Recore is going to set the stage for this new beginning from them. But that's what that phrase means. Xbox got no games. They not doing nothing AAA. They're going to give, hold on. And they're going to give you Halo, Gears, Forza. In order for that narrative to end, Microsoft has to give you more than Halo, Gears, Forza, which is why I said, sir, 3 games, 2 of which is not Halo, Gears, Forza. One of them can be, sure, because they are great exclusives and they are great franchises. But if that's all you have, then what's the point? And so
I like Code being nuanced, man. That's not a bad point to make. I hear you.
And so that's a
nuanced point. I get you on that.
Give me 3 games that's actually released. I've lived through Scalebound. I lived through Crackdown 3. I've heard the promise of release for years. Give me games in my hands that are actually released, and at least 2 of them is not Halo, Gears, and Forza. I said something very similar after the showcase, and this man is upset because I want released games, 2 of them not being Halo, Gears, Forza. But that was my position before the showcase and after.
So real quick, Code, real quick. So when they release,
we don't got to be real quick. She knows how it goes.
Okay, when they release Flight Sim, Psychonauts 2, and Forza 5 this year, will that kill the narrative, or does that
absolutely
not?
Absolutely not.
Why
so
not?
Psychonauts is a multi-plat. So again, it won't count if it's also on PlayStation. It has to be.
So it has to be only on console.
Xbox, no, not only on console. Xbox,
It can be on Xbox and PC. It just can't be on PlayStation.
Code is not stupid. Of course, PC counts.
so they have to give us 3 games. So right now, the games are Halo, Flight Sim, and Forza. Well, that's 2 of the 3 again. No, that won't kill it.
What about Grounded, Flight Sim, and Forza? What about Grounded, Flight Sim, and Forza? 3 games only on console.
Compelling AAA exclusive.
Compelling is opinion.
Let me ask you a question.
What's compelling to you might not be compelling to me, right?
Would you consider Sea of Thieves a AAA game?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's done AAA numbers on Steam and everywhere else.
It's by a well-regarded developer.
By a well-regarded developer, it's on the top of the Steam charts above all the games.
Uncharted: The Lost Legacy did numbers by a AAA developer established, but it's not a AAA game.
Uncharted, what game is that?
Uncharted
Lost Legacy is a DLC extension of a AAA franchise.
All right, I'm done with this, dude.
It is. It's a standalone.
So anyway, I think Sea of Thieves is great. Y'all might not know, I grinded to level 35 in each faction. When Sea of Thieves dropped, I was probably one of the main Sea of Thieves players. The reason I stopped playing Sea of Thieves was because of fucking cheaters on PC, and I just
that's true.
Didn't want to deal with.
So basically, it was because of slow mo. I understand, but listen, I just don't think that it's fair to say we're gonna praise Ratchet, which is an amazing game. We're gonna look forward to Horizon, right? We're gonna praise Demon Souls, right? One is a remake and the others are sequels of big IPs. So why is it cool on that side? But if you get, like, when I get a Switch, I specifically get it for Mario and Zelda.
Mario.
That's the reason I buy that console. Why is it not cool to say that's the reason you buy an Xbox for Halo, Gears, and Forza?
Yeah. I've already answered that. Xbox got no games, and so it's so you keep. Here's the thing: like you say, you don't know sports.
Yeah, but that makes no sense.
Of Michael Jordan,
of course.
I know you've heard of Dennis Rodman.
Of course,
Michael Jordan going to the basket will get calls that Dennis Rodman won't get. Why? Because of reputation and what he has earned. Sony and Nintendo have earned the respect of gamers because they're always giving you content and they're giving you new stuff. Yes, we will play those sequels, but we will also look forward to new IPs, new, again, exciting new AAA gaming experiences. Even if I don't like it, even if I don't like Splatoon, I cannot ignore that it is critically acclaimed and what it is doing. Even though if I don't like the Mario vs. Rabbids, which I actually do, so that's a bad example, but like you're getting stuff from them. They're not relying on third parties to make their system shine. You're getting from them new quality gaming experiences. They're investing in it, and you're seeing the results of those investments. The reason that Microsoft doesn't get that same amount of respect is because Microsoft is Dennis Rodman going to the basket, and Sony is Michael Jordan going to the basket.
Yeah,
they are not the same. I'm not going to treat them the same until they earn that same level of respect. Now, it is there for them to earn it. I'm open to it. They are getting a chance. But I'm done with faith from Microsoft.
Okay, here's the thing. I think that when you really distill down Xbox got no games, what they mean is Xbox doesn't have that third person over the shoulder story driven whatever.
Not true.
The kind of game that Sony has sort
not
of
true
protected.
Because there was Xbox was getting a lot of hype for Cuphead and Ori. Those games were critically acclaimed. You had people on who
Ori got snubbed for game.
Ori got really screwed.
You had PlayStation luminaries that were getting Xboxes and trying out Game Pass to play Cuphead, and then those games went multi-plat, and then it lost the steam because now those games are no longer on Xbox, and Microsoft didn't make them. I want, and I know I speak for others, I don't know how many others, but we want the platform holder to show us why they will keep the platform going with or without third. We don't want another Wii situation. The platform holder will keep the console going with content. I do agree that Microsoft is going to be in great shape years from now. Like, the writing is on the wall. You can see that they have invested in content, but that content is not here, and that content is years off. And no, I'm not going to be quiet like, okay, well, it's okay because they made the right move. No, they didn't wait. My $500 done been spent already. I'm going to voice my fucking opinion. If they don't want me saying shit, then give me the things that I want when you took my money.
All right. What are you looking for specific? And I know what the rule is, but what kind of game do you want to see from Xbox?
For me personally? Okay, yeah. So that Avowed is definitely looking hot. That Fable is definitely looking hot. And again,
even though you haven't seen anything from those, they still look hot to you.
They just look CGs. Yeah.
Well, that spell casting, that looked hot to me for sure.
Okay,
absolutely. But again, it's the same thing with the respect, right? Obsidian has a pedigree. I can put some confidence in Obsidian because I have seen what they have done. The Outer Worlds was fabulous.
See, and I appreciate that. Some like PlayStation folks keep going, ZeniMax is trash because they're Xbox folks. No, some people say that. I appreciate you saying what you're saying. Yes, that's good.
No, and then Playground. Who couldn't trust Playground as a developer?
That's right.
Absolutely. Yep. That's looking hot. And again, Fable is a sequel. Well, they may be a reboot or whatever. So it's not anything against sequels on Xbox. That is not the narrative. It is specifically Halo, Gears, Forza. That's it, because that's all they've relied on. For this
I may not agree with certain points, but overarching, I do agree with you that I may not feel exactly the same way because that console does different things for me, and I'm
the quality
appreciative
of
of what
life
it does.
you appreciate.
Yes, but I do hear what you're saying, and I do appreciate that. It's not the idea of they got no games. It's the same empty slogan. I was saying this is the same empty slogan as defund the police. That's not real. What
Exactly.
we're talking about there?
Yeah,
there's more nuance to it.
Right, it's an idiom. Like when I say she's counting on me, that don't really mean that somebody's standing on me. That's a female that's counting. It's just it's an idiom that
that's right.
represents.
There's more to it than that.
Idea.
But folks take that slogan and just make that the whole spell when there should be more conversation beyond that. And I appreciate you being a bit more full-throated and explaining exactly the nuances of it there. I get
y'all look up the Halo Gears Forza song by Kid Smooth. I'm serious.
I have never heard it.
Look it up.
I'm gonna look it up. Yes, for sure. But,
now,
everyone,
yeah. So, what is your outlook? Between now and the end of 2020. So, when the Ascent drops until now to the end of the year, what do you think about the lineup they've announced? Just 2021.
First party.
Okay, so thank you. It sounds like you mean the lineup or the lineup from them.
The lineup from
the lineup from them that the lineup from them that somebody else can't get.
Nintendo.
That's right. So it could be third party, but even it's timed.
Microsoft. Okay,
it all counts, but even time.
It just means it's exclusive.
Yes. Yeah, I mean timed exclusives count. Sure.
Yeah. So like the Ascent is a timed exclusive. There you go. The Ascent is an exclusive. It will eventually get up on that.
Yeah, that absolutely counts. So I'm looking forward to the Ascent. I already got my squad set up. And man, look, Stephen A., I would have included you in the thing. I just thought that you work so much that your game playing time is low. I know you're trying to get the Everborn stuff going and then your actual job and family stuff. Like if you got time to game, I'll happily boot one of them niggas so you can get in.
It had to be on the weekends because it's true. And this is the reason why I couldn't mess with.
That's why
No, but this is the reason why, Returnal would have, aside from the bugs, it would have been one of my favorite games this year. But I can't play it because I cannot dedicate that many hours at one time to something, and it's no progress to it. So that's a game that's just going to sit there unless they do some update with a save feature.
That is one thing I had a problem with. It's a great game. I love that game. I love Metroidvanias, but I think that game made a mistake. Like Metroidvanias are short bursts of repeat. This is not a short burst. You can go hours and then repeat, which lost the thread for me. I completely agree. But besides that, though, I still think it's a pretty good game. I'm hoping that maybe eventually they add in a different mode where it allows you to save it and like remove the Vania parts of it. Maybe a normal adventure game. That would be awesome.
I got a question for you, Code. Do you believe that both Microsoft and Sony are in an arms race or on a spending spree?
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
Absolutely no. So I think that, and Frontline Gamer said it best. Microsoft, again, they understood their strengths and their weaknesses, and Microsoft knew that they needed content. Sony already had content. Microsoft specifically went after major acquisitions to help give them content.
Yes, of course.
Now Microsoft has content, or they have the
potential for content.
Yes. And Sony, however, they already have content. So Sony acquisitions are more strategic at filling in gaps or holes in their lineup in different genres that they're missing. So they are making targeted purchases to fill in holes in their own lineup and not thinking at all about what Microsoft is doing.
So you're telling you think that those purchases that Microsoft made did not push PlayStation to start solidifying some, because Nixxes has been working with them for quite some time. The acquisition, although I agree with it and I think it's a great move, it's a little right now, as well as Blue Point and the others rumored.
No. So the way Sony works, so Sony builds up relationships organically, and people hate over time hearing that. Like they've been working with Blue Point and Housemarque for decades.
Of course,
they don't just go acquire. You have to be a fit for the Sony machine.
But Xbox has been doing the same thing. They've been working with ZeniMax for decades. So it's a misnomer.
Developing games though, like Sony, Blue Point, they have been working together. Sony, Blue Point, Housemarque, Blue Point, they understand the PlayStation mechanism for how they like to do things. they have developed chemistry. And so now it's like the natural progression of that relation. They've got others. And now
I agree with you.
adding
Housemarque should have been acquired a long time ago. I'm surprised it took this long. You know,
I mean, they had to solidify it. And truthfully, we don't actually know how long they've been acquired. We know they've just now announced it.
Sure, yeah.
And then also, like, Sony will get developers and put them in XDev, right? And so then they'll come up through the ropes there and they'll learn working with Sony that way. And then like an acquisition may come from that, like Ember Labs or something.
Okay.
So, but it's like they work with you. The whole Haven thing with Jade Redmond, like they build you up. We establish a working relationship, and then maybe the acquisition. And these studios have to want to be acquired. People just always assume you can just go buy somebody. These people may want to remain independent. It's not a given that everything is for sale. But on Microsoft, on the other hand, Microsoft needed content and they needed it immediately. So Microsoft was solving that goal independent of what Sony was doing. And Sony was doing stuff independent of what Microsoft was doing. The plans to acquire Housemarque and Bluepoint did not happen as a response to Microsoft. That stuff has been in the works.
Well,
and Microsoft now is looking for more targeted acquisitions the same way, because now that they have a portfolio being built, they're looking for holes in their portfolio.
Yeah, no,
and
I
they are
agree
aiming
with you on
at
that.
more specific, more strategic targets, because they don't have that need anymore to hurry up and get up to speed with content.
No, you're
They're
right.
solving different problems.
So the thing is, I would I understand what you're saying, but I feel like Obsidian was not a. I know that they wanted to buy studios, but like people pretend that Microsoft is not looking for quality, right? Like they'll just buy.
You never heard me say that.
I didn't say you said that. I'm just saying that's the way like people talk about it. So when they use that term organic versus just spending spree, it's or quantity versus quality. That's the sort of point that I want to push back at, because Microsoft. People pretend that Microsoft isn't vetting these purchases. There's probably studios that could be purchased, but Microsoft is like, you're not really a good fit
they said
for
no
what we're trying to do.
Yeah, they've come. There's even been reports that what was the other one? Come on, what's the studio that makes Borderlands? That was one of those.
Gearbox.
Yeah, that wasn't. There's reports that there was in question about that, but certain personnel
on that
stopped them. Yeah,
they are not. Microsoft has said no, and that's why I said I wouldn't say it's an arms race, because I don't agree that Microsoft is just out there spending money to get studios. I think that they are selective and deliberate, and I don't agree that Sony is making these moves in a response to what Microsoft is doing. And now that Housemarque has been acquired in Bluepoint and the Nexus, I don't agree that now Microsoft is going to do something in response to that.
No, well, I agree with that part. I think Microsoft and Sony are going to continue to. I think they are both on spending sprees, but whether it's an arms race is a different thing. And the reason I say this,
you're right.
A lot of people, they bring Google and Amazon into this, but I don't know if that's really like a real fear so much as right now money is cheap, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, usually when you have a Democrat in office, the corporate tax rates go up, right? Mm-hmm. So it is more beneficial now if you know that tax hikes are coming, right? And a lot of people sort of, there's gonna be a push to repatriate money that's being held overseas, right? Stock prices in general, the whole market is at all-time high, right? And some acquisitions happen not just with cash, but with also stock. So if your stock is really overvalued right now, you can use that to basically buy something for cheaper than it really is, right? Mm-hmm. And there's all this talk about inflation, right? So the money, the cash that you have will be less valuable. You will be paying taxes on it, and your stock prices are at an all-time high. So, and interest rates are at an all-time low, right? The government's sort of doing, or the Fed is doing near negative interest rates, right? So your money can't just sit in a bank somewhere because it's not really working for you.
Right. Yep.
So you want to buy studios that can produce content.
The money becomes less valuable soon.
Right. So the longer you wait, the more expensive it will become to do that. And buying studios that can produce content, whether it's the Sony model or the Game Pass model, those things will bring back money faster than it's sitting in the bank. So I think this spending spree doesn't stop, but I don't like that people pretending that everyone's not on a spending spree right now. Just business-wise, even you can even look at it in a vacuum. It just makes sense as to where we are right now. You know what I'm saying?
I think you're right. I think that all these various situations that don't necessarily connect to each other are setting it up, and it's very convenient that at this time those are the ducks that have been set in a row, and because of that, it's influencing them to purchase more than they normally would, and because they're doing so close together, the narrative can build that they're doing it because of each other, but that's not necessarily what's going on here.
Agree, and that's why I don't think it's a race. I definitely don't think it's an arms race. I don't think
it is a race, but it's a race to save themselves money, not necessarily to outdo the other.
Right. Well, I think it becomes a race in the point where they are. If there's a studio where they both could potentially get. Now, some studios would fit better at Microsoft and others would fit better at Sony. But I think one of those things that it would be a race for is maybe NetherRealm, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about that one myself. Yeah.
Like AT&T, they spun off the Warner Brothers business over to Discovery, but it seems like neither Discovery or AT&T want to be in the games business. And
so we don't know what's going to happen with that,
right? So the question is, in for NetherRealm, I would say it is an arms race or a race to see which one of them. I mean, it could be some other player, right? But I don't think it's EA because they just did Playdemic,
sitting back,
and they would have right. But I think that either one of them would want it. But I would think NetherRealm might be worth more to Sony than it would to Microsoft. And that's another thing that a misconception people get. People
because
think
of the movie part of it?
No. Well, I'll come to that in a second. But people just see that $2 trillion market cap, and they think that means Microsoft has $2 trillion in the bank. That's not how that works, right? Your market cap is outstanding shares multiplied by stock price. That gives you a valuation of what it would cost to theoretically buy a company. That doesn't mean that that's how much money they have in the bank. Now, that being said, Microsoft does have something like somewhere between $100 and $200 billion in the bank, but Sony has $44 billion cash on hand. So either of them could buy any one of these studios that they wanted. But when Microsoft makes a purchase, they have to say, is it worth the asking price for what we're trying to do? So if AT&T says, I want $3 billion for NetherRealm, now I'm not saying they would, but Microsoft has to say, well, what else could I buy for $3 billion, right? And they may say, well, I'm not saying that they could, but they may say, well, I can buy Sega for $3 billion. Why am I going to buy one IP? Right? I'm not saying you pay more than that for Sega, but you understand what I'm saying.
Just as an example. Yeah, I got you.
But Sony can say, well, you want $3 billion, but I don't just want this as a studio that I'm going to use to put games into my service. I want this for several reasons. I want it for the game, yes. Right. And and if I get it, I would be the de facto leader in the fighting game genre. Right. Yep. And also I can amortize that cost because another arm of my company is a movie studio.
As a movie studio. Yeah, of course.
So I can say, well, it's worth $3 billion to me because it'll lock this gaming market up for me. And then and then I can produce movies from my studio company.
But don't you think, and I hear you, and that's a very reasoned argument for why PlayStation probably wants them more. But don't you think that argument can also be made on the Xbox side similarly, because they want Killer Instinct back, but they don't have the righteous dev to do it, and they already have Ed Boon already out there going, I'd do it. They also want, that's a gap in their portfolio.
Well, I think it'll depend on how profitable that Killer Instinct could be, right? Like
because as Code has already alluded to it, they are also now being strategic, trying to fill in the gaps in the portfolio rather than buy, and right. they need fighting genre. Killer Instinct kind of saved them last gen because that was one of the few offerings that still it still lasted. To this day, there are still big fans of Killer Instinct, even though that was like kind of an offshoot of Microsoft trying something. It wasn't their full attempt like they're doing now. So although I agree with you that Sony might want them because hey, they can use them both on the gaming side and the movie side. They can definitely do that, which is lucrative for them. I would think Microsoft might also have similar reasons to want to fight for it because Killer Instinct
that makes sense, Asante, but I think his example was like at the asking price. Like I think
at the current asking price. Okay.
So I think he was just trying to illustrate how.
Okay. So you're saying that because it's that expensive, that might be the reason why they go, it's not that valuable to us, and cede it to Sony, who might use it more. Okay.
Right, and not that it's not valuable at all. It's just that
it's just not valuable at that specific asking price. Yeah. I mean, long story short, if PlayStation does get them, I think it'd be a great boon for them because they're already like locking up Evo and this and that. That would play right into that, So that
I still haven't forgiven Sony for locking down Street Fighter V, man.
How long was that for? Right?
I'm still
locked down at one point.
Salty about that shit.
Well,
man.
they won't have it the next time around.
Like, how did Microsoft let that get away?
They won't have it next time around, right? We've already heard the leaks that the next version of Street Fighter will be multi-plat.
Do we think that Xbox will ever get Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Probably not.
I do. Why not? Why wouldn't
I don't think so. I probably not.
Because it's been over a year now.
Well, because they got DLC and all that stuff, right? Like they probably will get the whole thing at once.
Yeah, I honestly think just like Yakuza, I think when the floodgates open, they will start with the first and the second, and it will slowly transition, and you'll see it in Game Pass. But because right now you haven't seen too much Final Fantasy on Xbox, I don't think even if the DLC is done and now they have that opportunity to, I don't see a world in which they just drop the remake right on Xbox or on Game Pass and say, hey, now it's available. There might be, just like Yakuza, they might start the older versions of that franchise to get you warmed up before eventually that one gets added as well. Like a Dragon. Yakuza Like a Dragon was the latest edition. They added all the others first, even though Like a Dragon was there day one. And then they just added Like a Dragon, I think last week or something like that.
Yeah, I bought it.
So
I got to bounce, man.
Yes. Well, we're towards the end of our window anyway, because we were planning on going for about 2 hours, and now we're basically at the end of our window. What I will say is we appreciate you coming here, and you appreciate you having this nice back and forth slanderous conversation sometimes with us, because that's what we do on Saturdays. It's always fun. We always enjoy doing that, and by and large, as I'm sure the chat can attest, we kept it respectful, which is what we like around here. No need for that BS, back and forth. We can agree to disagree on certain points, and hopefully at some point we can revisit this conversation again.
I don't know. I came for the smoke. It wasn't as much fire as I would like.
Look. I honestly think it's because there's still a lot of judgment out. Right, we haven't seen all of this is potential right now. Let's come back a year from now. By then, a lot of the stuff will be already established.
Sometimes I want to respond to your tweets, but it would be like a whole a frontline gamer type 40
it would
thread,
break,
and I'm just like,
it would break.
I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone. That's why I said I got to get you on a podcast. But
we appreciate you coming. We got to have you back
anytime.
What's up?
Wait, one question, Cole, before you go. If you had to guess, what would you say would be the next acquisition for both Microsoft and Sony? Quick, 5 seconds.
Well, obviously, Blue Point for Sony. Like, does that count?
Yeah, they already leaked that one.
That's
okay. Then I would say probably Ember Lab for Sony, and for Microsoft,
Can a Bridge of Spirits. Okay.
I don't know for Microsoft. That's a tough question. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I got nothing.
All right. Well, tweet it out when you if you just guess, if you had to guess, tweet it out later on.
And you know what about the tweets? I will hold this against you. When I see Microsoft release 3 games that are not Halo, Gears, or Forza, one can be Halo, Gears, or Forza, but the other 2 cannot be. They have to be first party, well, contract or whatever, and they have to be within the same calendar year. After that,
they don't even have to be in the same calendar year. They can do 1 this year and 2 next year.
So well, once I see that come out, I will expect to see a tweet from Code going, "Oh, they've done it."
Absolutely. No. Listen, Kay, let me.
And they don't even have to make it; they just have to publish it. It just has to be from Xbox Publishing.
Kay, let me explain a secret to you about Code. Everything you see from him on Twitter is because Crossfire X hasn't been released yet.
Bro,
that is it.
All the slander. Camel's back. That shit right there. And like we still got.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that for sure. I agree.
You are gonna see Code transform into a full Xbot as soon as that game comes out.
So Optimus is gonna transform.
Man, that's my joint. I've been waiting on it since July 23rd of 2020. I've been waiting on Crossfire X.
Hey, we look forward to seeing we look forward to seeing all the jubilation when it finally gets we get more information about the damn thing.
Code was very reserved, very educational until he stopped getting a date for Crossfire. You can watch his tweets.
Slanderous.
The timing lines up with Crossfire X. I've been watching you, Code. I know how you move.
Can't talk about it. Man.
So, well, we're getting to the end of the episode, but again, thank you so much for joining us. Again, Optimus Code, legendary figure in the gaming industry. Please
stop it.
Please. Oh, out here in the streets, people listen to what you say. We appreciate you joining us. Tell us again where folks can find you online.
Man, people, if they want to find me, they can. That stuff ain't important, man. I appreciate y'all having me on. I'll listen to y'all. I'll be checking y'all out. I look at these fools. Okay. I'll see what's up.
We got tired of having conversations on DM and in chat rooms. We figured, turn on the camera. Why the hell not?
Man, y'all nice. Y'all definitely gonna grow, man. You can see it. Y'all got the chemistry for it, man. Just keep going.
No, that was it. We would have all of these conversations, and we're like, "Yo, this is gold right here. We should try to get paid for this somehow."
So yes,
awesome.
So thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Everborn Saga. Please tell the fine people where they can find you again, and what have you been playing this week, by the way, before we go.
Oh, what I've been playing this week is I've been trying to get into Sea of Thieves, but you can't pause that shit.
Oh, man.
And my wife and kids do not allow me to have more than a few uninterrupted minutes on the game.
Unpausable games. Here's a quick idea.
Crime against humanity.
When somebody like us who can't pause games because we have kids and we have parents and we have to go. Maybe, you hit the pause button, it removes you from the world while the world continues or something. And then we can come back when we're ready. Outriders couldn't go all the way because I can't pause it. Come on, people. Give us another solution for unpausable games. I hear you. It's online. It can't be paused. Maybe, my fire team will continue without me. And then when I resume my pause, I will continue where my fire team is. Something like that. So that those of us who have the ability to pause can go do what we got to do. Just a side note.
Also, I'm playing a Plague's Tale for the first time.
You're playing? Oh, yes. Yeah, I hear that game is amazing.
But you can find me everywhere at Everborn Saga because I got my branding in order. Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, but most importantly, everbornsaga.com, where you can get posters like you see behind me, or you can get into the books. And I got word that the books have come in from the Kickstarter. So on Wednesday, UPS will be picking them up. They will send them to me, and I will be sending out everybody's things. And we got a new series coming out, and I promise the novel will be out by the end of the year. So big things happening on the Everborn front. And Prince of Arcadia Chapter 4 is done. I just have to stop being lazy and send that one to the printer. So that is coming also. But Everborn Saga everywhere. Thank you, Code. Thank you, Kay. Thank you,
bro. That
Eric,
t-shirt is nice. Man, that t-shirt is nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. But
I was gonna wear it for this, but I decided y'all wasn't worth that much. So.
Oh wow! See, he didn't.
The next time,
he didn't get his shield check in the mail. That's the problem. We'll get you the check next time, Cole. Man. But Everborn Saga everywhere. Kay, get us out here.
K _Asante on Twitter. because my branding is not in order. It
No,
is
it's not.
Unreal Gamer on PlayStation and on Xbox.
All over the
You
place.
add me. Let's game sometimes. I'm always open. Please connect with us. Again, we appreciate you watching. We appreciate you watching live. We see Big Bad Mo, Game Genie Prime, Scrub Nurse. A bunch of the community was here today. We
had
appreciate
Luca
y'all.
in here today too.
We had Luca in there. I even saw we've been giving a bit of slander to Mr. Slow Mo Backslap, but we only do it because we care, because we love, right? So we appreciate y'all watching.
Because I don't care
live
about PC.
Or on VOD.
But go ahead.
Stop with the PC slander, bro. Your machine is just as good as mine. Don't talk smack.
I only bought that machine just so I'd have ammo against the PC Master Race people.
Oh, here we go.
Because they'll say, "Oh, your PC can't do." Yes, it can, and I don't want to use it.
And I choose not to use it. All right, man. So, but we appreciate everybody who chose to watch. Appreciate everybody who chose to watch it live and or VOD. And we will be back next week with another ridiculous episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. But until then, thank you very much.